if I roll my eyes back any further, they're going to fall out of my head. And we're back with more Arrow, and this week's episode is called 11:59, all written out because at 11:59, as opposed to 11:58 or 12 at midnight precisely, someone dies. And this has been the thing the entire season has been building up to. This is the episode where we find out who is in that infernal grave. And we will get to that, because it's really dumb. But it's Arrow, so obviously I guess that's a prerequisite. So basically this episode opens with addressing the cliffhanger from the last episode, which is not really a cliffhanger, it's more like a reveal. At the end of last week's episode, we had Andy Diggle talking to Malcolm Merlyn, and the idea was that this Diggle is now the inside man for Damien Darhk. And so we're supposed to now be really weary of him, and we're not going to trust him, and this whole episode is, should we trust him or should we not trust him? So we open with that, and we have a conversation with Oliver and Diggle and everybody, and they're talking about whether or not they can trust him, and Andy's like, I've got a beat on what Damien Darhk's going to do, and Oliver's like, oh, I don't know if I believe you, and Diggle's like, nah, he's earned my trust, because why not? And that whole thing is just really contrived. That whole scenario of Diggle trusts his brother without any doubt whatsoever is extremely contrived, because, for one, he only showed up just a little while ago, right? Like, he only showed up in the span of this show's timescale, maybe like a month ago, at most, maybe a little bit more than that, but not by a lot. Like, he hasn't had time to get to know this guy. And he spent all of this time away murdering people with Damien Darhk, and he just suddenly trusts him because the show needs him to. And we had that really weird soap opera moment in a previous episode where he comes home to Diggle's family and they're all reunited again, and we're all just conveniently forgetting the fact that Diggle's brother had a wife and child that still don't know that he's alive, but whatever, because the writers forget about these things, so I guess I shouldn't remember them either. So most of this episode is manufactured drama between Diggle, Oliver, and Andy as to who can trust who. And because this show is so inconsistent when it's trying to align these characters and making sure their arcs make sense, I really don't know who to believe either. So the tension is not there because the show is trying to be tense. The tension and mystery is there because I don't know what's going on. And so we get a little bit more of Damien Darhk and his idol. His idol has been put back together, sort of quasi put back together with cracks and stuff in the Arrow Cave, and Malcolm Merlyn shows up to steal it. But before that, we have a moment where Oliver is like, I've seen this idol before, which he says now. Not during the Vixen episode, not the episode after the Vixen episode, but now. He just mentions now, by the way, I've seen this thing before. On the island. Because he's seen everything on the island, apparently. And that just gets more and more contrived. And so Malcolm Merlyn shows up. Turns out Andy Diggle's plan to help them stop a shipment of weapons from Damien Darhk was just a ruse, so Malcolm Merlyn could show up and steal the idol. But conveniently, there is one piece of the idol that is missing, and without that one piece, Damien Darhk's powers are not fully restored. Which opens up a question as to why Malcolm is working with Damien Darhk in the first place. The idea is supposed to be that Genesis is going to happen, and it's going to be big, chaotic, and hectic, and the whole city's going to suffer, just like at the end of every season. And what we're supposed to get out of this is that Malcolm Merlyn is afraid, or he's trying to align himself with the most powerful faction, and his whole thing with Damien Darhk is, okay, I help you, then you protect me and my daughter. Except Hive isn't trying to break him out. So Hive doesn't care about him. And if that's the case, and Damien Darhk is completely powerless without the idol that Malcolm is getting for him, why would Malcolm think Damien is in any position to protect him? By that same token, this is the dude that used to run the League of Assassins. He used to be Ra's al Ghul. He knows mysticism. Why wouldn't he just keep the idol for himself? Why does he need Damien Darhk? Aside from the fact that the plot requires him to need Damien Darhk. None of that's really explained or discussed in any meaningful way. It's just kind of there to manufacture more drama. The new mayor of Starling City, or Star City now, sorry, old habit, Star City is elected, who is Damien Darhk's wife, and she offers Laurel a position as the new district attorney. And this becomes most of Laurel's character arc for this episode, which is, should she take the district attorney job and not be Black Canary anymore, or should she keep being Black Canary and ignore the district attorney job because Damien Darhk's wife is evil? And so they spend most of the episode trying to deal with that, and it telegraphs really, really hard that this is Laurel's last outing. And we'll get to the stuff with Laurel towards the end, but this episode is extremely obvious. Last week was a little bit obvious when it kept trying to wrap up all of Laurel's loose threads and her talking to all the characters, and she had more screen time last episode than she had anywhere else aside from this episode. And then here we're just telegraphing really, really hard, look at Laurel. Notice Laurel. Pretend like Laurel matters, because we're telling you that she matters for this very particular episode. Just think about that for a moment. So after all of this transpires and Malcolm gets the idol, and now they're looking for the last piece, Oliver and Diggle are at odds with each other because Oliver doesn't trust Andy, and he catches Andy trying to search for the last piece of the idol inside Diggle's house. So Oliver not tortures, he more just roughs him up a little bit, and Diggle's I don't trust you anymore, and you don't trust Andy, and it's a whole circus, and you never left the island, and you're a horrible human being. And Oliver's yeah, I am, because I can't change, and I'm trapped there like I was 5 years ago, which is the complete opposite of his character arc from last season, and the season before that, and the season before that. I guess we're just pretending like Oliver is growing up, and then pretending like he hasn't grown up, for reasons. So they have a big argument over the whole thing, and the dialogue doesn't make any sense. There's a line where Diggle is regular people evolve, and you're just wallowing in your self-pity, and that's why Felicity left you. But no, that's not why she left him. She didn't leave him because Oliver was self-pity. Oliver was being extremely rational and practical and upbeat and happy. And then Felicity left him because he had to cover up the fact that he had a son, which she understood. It had nothing to do with self-pity. It was all about lying. I don't know what he's talking about. He was there for that. He's the one that talked him through most of this. I don't know where he's getting that. I should mention, though, that when Oliver is trying to rough up the Andy Diggle, he doesn't rough him up as Green Arrow, per se. He's there in Green Arrow costume, but it's the most Batman-y scene this show has had in a very long time. Everything he's saying just screams of Nolan Batman. I wish I could show you the clip, but I can't right now, because copyright and all that. But I really want to show people this clip, and, maybe not even show them the clip, just play the audio from this clip, and I will bet you money that 9 out of 10 people will say that's Batman. Because it's not a Green Arrow scene at all. It's a really weird Batman scene. I don't know what's up with that. So all of this transpires, and then Damien Darhk stages a massive prison riot where a bunch of guards are being captured, and Quentin Lands creates a bit of a distraction while Team Arrow goes in trying to take down Darhk. And right before this, we try to resolve everything with Laurel one more time and tell her that she's going to be DA and this is her last night out as Black Canary, and she has a very big dramatic close-up shot where she looks at her mask and she's like, one last time. And then we go ahead and we go to the prison riot and fight. Lots of fighting. Malcolm fights Thea, and Thea fights Malcolm, and Laurel fights a bunch of thugs, and Oliver fights a bunch of thugs. It's just action. Nothing meaningful, nothing important, just lots of action. And boring action, because at this point the show isn't a lot more than action scenes. And then they confront Damien Darhk. Now, here's the weird thing. So Damien gets his idol back, and we realize that Andy Diggle was actually a traitor, which confirms all of Oliver's fears and makes Diggle feel really bad. And then he gives Damien the final piece, and Damien puts it into the idol, and he has his power back. Before it's back fully, Thea shows up and shoots 2 arrows into his stomach. Now, Damien Darhk doesn't die because he's getting his magic powers back. But Thea had the drop on him. Thea was there, and he didn't see her. And the idol is literally 1 inch away from him. And she sees that it's been reassembled. So why wouldn't she just destroy the idol with a couple of arrows? It's already half broken. It really wouldn't take much to just shoot 1 arrow into it and make it explode or something. And I know Oliver's got bomb arrows somewhere. There's no reason why they couldn't just destroy the idol aside from contrivances. But Damien Darhk gets his powers back, and he holds everyone there, and he has his big menacing evil bad guy speech, and Oliver shoots an arrow at him because Oliver's an idiot, and he doesn't realize that arrows have no effect on him because it's the thing he's been doing at him for the entire season. Every time Damien uses his powers, and we realize that arrows are no use, Oliver keeps shooting arrows at him because he's smart. And then, while he has an arrow in his hand, He takes this arrow and he stabs Laurel in the stomach, and then we are left there with the thought that Laurel is about to die. Damien escapes, Malcolm escapes, and then Green Arrow takes Black Canary to the hospital, and everyone's there getting ready to see what happens to Laurel. And while we're there doing the hospital bit with Laurel, we have all these flashbacks where Oliver is trying to break out of this underground cave, and in doing so, he looks at his picture of Laurel that we saw back in season 1. And it's pulled out here completely conveniently for no reason other than this is a Laurel-centric episode because she's about to die. And it comes out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know the last time he's looked at this picture. It just further solidifies that the flashbacks don't really mean anything and they're not advancing his character arc very much at all. They're just kind of there now because it was a tradition since the first season. So he looks at her picture, and then we cut back to the hospital, and we have the doctor say she's going to be perfectly fine. And then her and Oliver have a long conversation where they talk about that picture again to make everything feel like it's really deep and coming full circle when it's actually not. And after that very, very contrived and overly extended scene where they're just talking to each other and how she says that she feels alive when she's Black Canary, she has some sort of attack, and she, I think, dies. Now, I say I think because it feels very much like they're trying to Roy Harper her. They're going to try... I don't think that's what they're doing, but it feels a lot like it because they have a talk, and then we cut away before the talk is really finished, and then she suddenly freaks out and dies. Now, the way it's acted, it feels like she's actually dead. At the same time, I wouldn't put it past the show to say that they had some scheme to keep her alive and just write her out of the show like they did with Roy. I don't know. It was really weird the way it was cut together, but I think I'm 90% sure that she is actually dead. And this is the one big credit I'll give the episode, is that there's a scene where Oliver is standing in the hallway and Quentin Lance shows up, and just the look on Amel's face transforms the look on Paul Blackthorne's face, and he knows his daughter is dead, and he just falls to the ground, and it's incredibly acted. It's one of the best performances this show has ever had. It's absolutely fantastic for those about 30 seconds. And then it's over. And that's the end of the episode. And the end of the episode is just Laurel is supposedly dead, and everyone's freaking out because Damien Dark got his powers back, and Andy Diggle was playing everyone for suckers, and it's just one big fatalist ending. Now, this is probably one of the worst episodes of the season. When you put this in perspective at the whole season, when you put this into the place of week to week, you're trying to find out who's in this grave, you realize just how much this show thinks you're an idiot, how much this show doesn't want to treat you like you have the capacity to think in the least bit, because it keeps contriving situations where we think someone's dead and then they're not dead, and we think they're dead and they're not dead, and drama here and drama there, and none of it's natural. All of it is just there to keep you guessing. This entire episode is just a whole bunch of filler that could have been combined with a whole bunch of filler last episode to tell a natural story, and they don't. All they really do is keep giving you beat changes that make you guess, are they in the grave? Are they in the grave? Are they in the grave? It's really badly written. It's really badly edited. It's an episode that's just there for the shock value, and it doesn't really mean much of anything. Laurel's whole character arc of feeling alive when she's Black Canary is sort of consistent with Season 3, but her becoming Black Canary in Season 3 was so badly done because it was just full of so much nonsense logic that it doesn't really mean anything by the end of it. And the fact that she dies accepting Black Canary as something that she really wanted to be doesn't mean much because her arc wasn't about accepting that. Her arc all the way throughout the show is making other people accept the fact that she's going to be Black Canary. So it just feels counterintuitive to end on that note. And then it's the same thing with Oliver, where Oliver's arc has always been move past your island torture, use what you've learned to be better and to make the city better, and then through constantly contrived situations, we keep regressing him. And as bad as Season 3 is, and as bad as him and Felicity riding off into the sunset is at the end of Season 3, he came away from it, right? We had to have a clip at the end of that season finale from the producers to tell us Arrow wasn't over, that the show is still going. He had an actual epiphany at the end of that season. And here we just come back to it, and it's like the show doesn't remember where they brought Oliver. The fact that he would say that he's trapped on the island isn't consistent with the way he's been treating everyone this season, the way he's treated Felicity, the way he's been trying to recapture that spark they had, the whole idea of him wanting to be Green Arrow and have a normal life. He's accepted the fact that these things can happen. Him just admitting that they're not possible now in the middle of this situation, even before Laurel gets hurt, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It just feels like more regression. The stuff with Diggle is absolutely contrived. They just keep writing him differently scene to scene. The stuff he says about Felicity and Oliver's breakup just doesn't make any sense because that's not what happened. The stuff with him and Andy Diggle is completely contrived because we don't get to know Andy at all. He just disappears for episodes on end. There's a moment where Diggle is like, look at how much he's done for us. He's done exactly one thing. He's done one thing where when Diggle's wife was held hostage, he helped Diggle save her. That's all he's done. And in this episode, he takes an arrow for Oliver, but again, that doesn't defeat Oliver's suspicions. And it was a very weird scene. It was a really awkward scene. It felt extremely staged because it was staged. But Oliver read into that, and he understood that, and it's ridiculous that no one else saw it that way. There's no reason to trust Andy Diggle. There's no reason to not be suspicious of him. So playing it as if we're supposed to be suspicious, or playing it on both sides, making it seem like it's an actual emotional dilemma doesn't make any sense, doesn't come from anywhere. And the Laurel death doesn't have any emotional impact outside of Paul Blackthorne and Stephen Amell's performances. Those two actors are a lot better than the material the show's ever given them. So this is a really bad episode, but it's kind of fun to talk about. It's one of those train wrecks where you just can't look away. It's not like last week where it's boring except when you get to the action scenes. So Arrow's going to be on break for a little while. We'll come back to it, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks now. I think same with Flash. I think Flash is off for at least another week. So I won't do another one of these for a little while, but stay tuned for the actual funeral, which is going to be in the next episode, where we see the actual grave. Thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments, and I'll see you next time.